Yeah, I would like to share with you some information about PDPA, mean Personal Data Protection Regulation of Vietnam, and specifically the Decree 13. So as you may be aware that Decree 13 is already issued and effective from 1 July 2023. So it maybe it's not too new for us. All almost the enterprise and the company already like preparing the data privacy impact assessment report to submit to the authority. So, but in fact, there is no like specific guideline or circular or instruction from the cybersecurity department to clarify the content of the decree 13. So now it's very difficult for the company to apply the laws. So in this presentation, I would like to share some of my experience so far that I may know to help you deal with the submission of the impact assessment report and some keynotes on the decree. Yes. So there are some highlights for the company to need to know to comply with the Decree 13. First, you need to review the agreement between the company and the data subject or the data owner to ensure that the agreement covers all required regulation in the Decree 13. So, for example, you may know that there are 11 rights of the data owner, a Decree 13, right? But let's say in the past, we do, I think the company do have the consent letter or the agreement between the company and the employee, for example. But there may be not enough right as mentioned in the Decree 13. So let's say the first thing you need to like check again if the agreement between the company and the employee other party subject owner have the right as mentioned in the Decree 13. And second thing, the agreement must specify the type of data to be processed, the specific purpose, the party who participating in the processing, and how to process. Even you also need to like clarify the consequence, the damage is likely to occur, and also the starting time and ending time. Yes. Next, because in Decree 13 we define the personal data into two types. First is basic data, and the second thing is sensitive data. For example, sensitive data like the health record, you know, very important, and it's collected by the pharmaceutical company, many, and then if you process the sensitive data, then you have to notify to the data owner if the data is processed.
Can I have a questions? Let's say
Yes.
The agreement. So let's say we have a website, and when we turn on website, they always pop up in many countries that we collect cookies, and by accepting to go forward, you accept cookie. Please kindly accept, and they click. And that's the agreement, right? Or has to be more specific agreement, and or you can have another line like, please specify your agreement, and you click on it, and then you say, okay, I agree for you to collect my this information, like my time to go to that website, but not allow you to collect my email address or something.
Okay, and actually, Decree 13 not like just limits you to assign the agreement or the contract with the, let's say, the user, like you say, by the written contract. Even you can like that's a cookie, right?
Yeah.
And you like access to the website, and there's a cookie.
Yeah.
There's some condition for you to read and accept.
Yeah.
So it they consider as an agreement.
Yep.
But like Decree 13 require, if you would like to process the data that you will like from the user, then you must specify the purpose, specific purpose, fixed purpose.
And your experience, and has any person ever complied with that requirement, and how do they do that?
Sorry, can you repeat?
Has any company has ever done that agreement, and how do they do this? I also go to the hospital many times. Nobody showed me any agreement to sign on the data collection agreement and usage.
That's the thing.
Never.
Yeah, that's the thing. But I see that, for example, by Google, or when we have the Gmail, right?
Yep.
And they're changing. They following the
Vietnam law.
GDPR. No, the
European one.
Yes,
GDPR.
but also similar to Decree 13. Then I mean the Decree 13 similar to GDPR.
GDPR.
Yeah. So they also like comply with the law. It doesn't mean that you go to hospital and there's no written consent written, and then there's no like no client. But in fact, there still be, right? Yes.
Okay, so the thing is that when I read these slides, I think maybe the decree, correct me if I'm wrong, the decree 13 is not very specific. And I think that's something that I like the Malaysian law better, because they take about translation, about health, about specific information for commercial purpose or a specific purpose. At least I know where I am, and I know how to comply. But when I look at the decree 13, I think is ambiguous, is too overly broad, and I don't know how to comply.
Yes, I think it's a little bit different from my opinion with your opinion about this.
Yes.
Actually, compare like we have some slide about comparison between Malaysia and Vietnam, right? And I see that actually Vietnam has more like specific regulation on PDPA. And for example, like the consent letter, while Malaysia they don't have the specific requirement for consent letter, but in Vietnam we have.
Okay.
Cover the Decree 13 requires that the consent letter must have some specific content.
Yeah.
And then you need to follow that. Yeah.
Okay.
So for the question, yes, Vietnam is better than, I think. Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah, maybe if I could just add to that.
Yeah.
I think if I could just read two sections of your decree. Article 11, sub 3 says, the consent of the data subject shall be expressed in a clear and specific manner in writing, by voice, by ticking the consent box, by consent syntax via message, by selecting consent settings, or by other forms. And interestingly, Article 11, sub 6 says silence or non-response is not considered as consent. So in Malaysia, because it's you are just telling, I mean, as a matter of principle, you're saying you need to get consent. But it's actually kept rather vague. So at times, I like the hospital example, because I had that same example in the hospital. In fact, this was, I think, 2 years ago, where it was just noticed there, and there's nothing positive that was required. Nothing positive. So if you read the decree, I think my reading of the decree is maybe that's not enough in Vietnam.
Right.
In Vietnam, it seems to suggest that almost a positive act must be done. That's how I see it.
Talking about the hospital, actually Decree 13 have some exception. Like if the data processing is for benefits of the data owner. Let's say, for example, your case, right? You go to the hospital because for your health treatment, and then the hospital need to have some like your information, right? So I think in that case, the hospital will fall into the exception of Decree 13 because they need to collect your information for your benefits. Yeah. So
I'll give you another question. I like the healthcare system a bit. Let's say I'm an insurance company. I try to find the reason. Well, you give me a claim, life insurance, whatever. And of course, I have a lot of exclusion clause if you make misrepresentation on this and on that. And then in order to prove that you misrepresent something, I contact the data center of maybe soon they will have a national data center, a healthcare center, and they say, okay, you say you don't smoke. I found that you smoke, and you did visit the hospital a few times because of the smoking problem, and you tell to the doctor that when they ask, they say you smoke. You said you don't have high pressure, but I saw in in some event you visited a doctor and then you declare you have a high pressure, therefore I don't pay you. Is that benefit to you or not? I mean, and to what extent the insurance company they can seek those data? It's quite dangerous, actually.
Yeah, it is. But
Yeah.
From a Malaysian perspective,
yeah,
that issue really because it's so commercial centric.
yeah,
In fact, in Malaysia, actual consent need not be obtained if it is for the necessary purpose of entering into a contract.
yeah.
You see? So in those circumstances, you may not even need consent.
Yeah.
You know, and then there are those exceptions that they put in there, which allow dissemination of the personal information to other parties. So
yes, thank you.
Oh, you're recording. Okay. So in context, I'm an employer, right? Let's say I'm a Malaysian employer and Mr. I want to employ you. All right. You're a Vietnamese. Can I write to your doctor and say that I want your entire medical history before I employ you? All right. Hold on a minute. It's actually beneficial, isn't it? Because it's to give you employment. Right. That's my request. Okay. And I am going to use the information for me to decide whether or not to employ you. All right. Now I can do things. I can ask you first, Mr. Hai, I'm going to write to your doctor. Can you give me consent? All right. Or I may choose not to do so because I want to find out without you knowing that I am asking the question. All right.
Okay. So if talking about the employment matter, then like I said, you want to recruit me, right, as an employee, and then under the labor code, there's some information under the labor code we need to provide to the employer. What of those are some basic beside the basic data like name, age, gender, address. We also provide the health record. Let's say we must go to the hospital or the health clinic to make the health check, and then we bring the result to the employer and say, here, I have the good health to do the job. Yeah.
If I don't believe the results,
if you don't believe, then you can you don't need to recruit me.
No, I still want to recruit. I like you.
But you cannot like go to the hospital and ask
Right.
I want the hair record of
That's all. I see.
me. Yeah, that's the confidential, and the hospital never provide you.
So David, under Malaysian law, will come under the commercial exception.
it would come under the commercial exception. Yeah. Thanks.
So I think I will move. No, I will go on with my presentation because there are many things need to tell you.
But the Q&A doesn't count to your 15 minutes. Don't worry.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the other thing like you need to have to create a personal data request form because that requires the Degree 13. Or like Mr. David also mentioned about 72 hours even to notify even having the breach of data privacy. And I would like to focus on the submission of the data privacy assessment, but I will talk later because I have one other slide about DPO.